Breaking news! Bengals fans, the wait is finally over. After months of speculation, off-season debates, draft discussions, and endless questions about who could emerge as the next surprise contributor in Cincinnati, the spotlight is officially shifting to one of the most important stretches of the offseason. OTAs are here, and while these practices won't determine the final roster, they will begin to reveal which players are ready to force their way into the conversation and which storylines deserve the most attention moving forward. Before we dive in, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The next several weeks are going to give us our first real look at some of the most intriguing names on the Bengals roster. And if you don't want to miss any updates, now is the perfect time to join the community. Now, let's get to the important part. As the Bengals begin OTA activities and prepare for mandatory minicamp shortly afterward, there are several players whose situations stand out more than others. Some are rookies trying to prove they belong. Some are fighting for roster spots. Others are looking for a fresh start after injuries or difficult beginnings to their NFL careers. What makes this period so fascinating is that every player enters the practice field with a different objective. And perhaps no player embodies that reality more than Landon Robinson. If you've spent any time around Bengals discussions lately, you've probably heard his name repeatedly. The seventh-round defensive tackle from Navy has quickly become one of the most talked-about rookies on the roster. There's something about his story that naturally attracts attention. The military background, the Ohio roots, the fact that his father is a Bengals fan, the late-round draft status. Everything about the story feels like something fans want to rally behind. What makes Robinson especially interesting entering OTAs is the mindset he brings from the Naval Academy. Rather than talking about physical advantages or technical skills, Robinson has emphasized the discipline and structure that shaped him throughout his time in the military environment. According to his own comments, the strict scheduling, accountability, and daily routine required at the Naval Academy have prepared him for the demands of professional football. The expectation to be on time, complete every responsibility, balance multiple commitments, study film, maintain a routine, and maximize every day is something he believes gives him an edge as he begins his NFL journey. But while the excitement around Robinson is understandable, there is also a reality check that comes with his situation. He's still a seventh-round draft pick. That doesn't mean he can't become a contributor. It doesn't mean he won't make the team. It simply means that nothing is guaranteed. Late-round selections enter training camp and off-season work with far less certainty than early-round picks. Every practice matters. Every rep matters. Every opportunity matters. And for Robinson, the challenge becomes even greater because the defensive tackle room is described as significantly more crowded than before. Competition will be everywhere. Making the roster is one battle. Climbing the depth chart is another. Standing out among established veterans is another challenge entirely. Still, if there is one rookie who appears positioned to generate attention throughout OTAs, Robinson is absolutely near the top of that list. Another player who could become one of the biggest stories over the next several weeks is wide receiver Kobe Young. The Bengals already have talent at the receiver position, which makes Young's situation especially interesting. Many people questioned why Cincinnati felt the need to add another receiver during the draft. The simple answer may be that they genuinely believe in his potential. And now, circumstances could create an opportunity for him to showcase exactly why the organization selected him. The expectation heading into OTAs is that Ja'Marr Chase could miss portions of the voluntary activities. There have also been occasions where Higgins has not participated in every drill. If either of those situations continues during off-season work, additional reps become available. Those reps have to go somewhere. And that creates a pathway for Kobe Young to receive significant attention on the practice field. One of the early observations surrounding Young has been his size. Even during rookie activities, when there are no pads and limited opportunities for true competition, observers reportedly noticed how much his physical presence stood out. That's often one of the first things that catches attention during off-season practices. Before anyone can evaluate production, route running, or game impact, size and athletic profile are usually the first things that jump off the field. In Young's case, that appears to be happening already. And if Young receives extra opportunities because established veterans are absent at times, don't be surprised if his name starts appearing more frequently in practice reports. At the same time, another receiver quietly enters this offseason with something to prove. Dante Myers. His journey is very different from Young's. Myers arrived after spending time in the CFL, including a strong 2025 season where he surpassed 1,000 receiving yards. What's fascinating about his path is the gradual climb. From Delta State to the CFL, from modest production to a breakout season, from there to an NFL opportunity with Cincinnati. Every step required patience and persistence. Now, the question becomes simple. What's next? Can he translate that success into legitimate NFL competition? Can he climb the Bengals depth chart? Can he position himself for playing time? Those questions won't be fully answered during OTAs, but this is where the process begins. For a player in Myers' position, visibility matters. Every route, every catch, every positive report, every practice clip, it all contributes to building momentum. And if opportunities open up during off-season workouts, Myers could become one of the most intriguing names to monitor. Moving over to the tight end room, one storyline stands above the rest. Eric All Jr. The conversation surrounding All isn't really about talent right now. It's about availability. Fans have remained excited about his potential, but injuries have been a recurring part of his story since arriving in Cincinnati. He's coming off ACL recovery, and there have also been shoulder-related concerns in the past. The encouraging news is that early signs appear positive. He's participating in drills. He's working with the other tight ends. He's been seen catching passes and moving around during off-season activities. Those are exactly the developments supporters wanted to hear. However, the real challenge begins now. Can he stay on the field consistently? Can he avoid setbacks? Can he build momentum without interruptions? Those are the questions surrounding All as OTAs begin. Nobody seems to doubt the excitement surrounding his potential. The concern revolves around whether he can put together a sustained stretch of healthy participation. If he does, confidence around him will continue to grow. If injuries become part of the discussion again, those concerns will only intensify. The tight end room also presents opportunities for a few lesser-known names. Jack Andre enters the picture as another seventh-round selection attempting to establish a role. His situation appears less about making the roster and more about determining where he fits. Is he a second-team player? A third-team contributor? A specialist in certain formations? OTAs may begin answering those questions. The organization already invested a draft pick in him and signed him to a 4-year contract, which naturally creates interest regarding how they envision his future role. Meanwhile, Josh Cadis faces a different challenge. As an undrafted free agent, the battle is straightforward. He needs to earn a spot. Interestingly, there hasn't been much noise surrounding him so far. No major headlines, no flood of highlights, no significant buzz, but that doesn't mean the competition isn't happening. In many cases, some of the most important roster battles take place away from the spotlight. Cadis enters OTA season, trying to prove that he belongs in the conversation and deserves consideration for a roster position moving forward. Then there is perhaps one of the most important personal stories entering this offseason. Shamar Stewart. For Stewart, the phrase that continues to surface is fresh start. CT. After describing a difficult rookie experience that included injuries, contract-related challenges, and mental hurdles while trying to adjust to professional football, Stewart now enters year 2 believing things should begin to click more naturally. More familiarity with the playbook, more comfort within the organization, more understanding of what it takes to succeed both on and off the field. The expectation is that growth should come naturally with experience, and this is why OTAs matter so much for him. They're not just another off-season event. They're an opportunity to turn the page. They're an opportunity to demonstrate progress. They're an opportunity to show that year 2 will be different from year 1. Yet Stewart's story becomes even more interesting because competition may be arriving faster than expected. Cassius Howell enters the picture as a rookie, bringing his own momentum. While still establishing himself, Howell has already been participating and working with the team despite not yet having signed his contract. That effort alone has caught attention. The possibility of a healthy competition between Stewart and Howell creates another fascinating subplot to monitor during off-season work. This doesn't have to become a controversy. In fact, the ideal outcome is exactly the opposite. Competition should elevate everyone involved. It should push Stewart to continue improving. It should motivate Howell to prove himself. And it should strengthen the overall defensive line group heading toward training camp. That's why these upcoming weeks are so important. For Landon Robinson, it's about proving the excitement is justified. For Kobe Young, it's about capitalizing on additional opportunities. For Dante Myers, it's about continuing an unlikely football journey. For Eric All Jr., it's about consistency and health. For Jack Andre and Josh Caddis, it's about finding a place within the roster picture. And for Shamar Stewart, it's about turning a fresh start into real progress. All of these storylines are set to unfold as Cincinnati officially begins one of the most important evaluation periods of the offseason. Now I want to hear from you, Bengals fans. Which player do you believe is going to dominate OTAs and become the biggest story over the next few weeks? Is it Landon Robinson, Kobe Young, Dante Myers, Eric All Jr., Shamar Stewart? Or is there another name that you think is about to surprise everyone? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let everyone know who you're watching closest as the Bengals begin this crucial stretch of the off-season. What makes this OTA period even more fascinating is that not every storyline is going to be obvious on day 1. That's usually how these off-season battles work. Everyone arrives with expectations, but the players who end up creating the most buzz are often the ones nobody was talking about a few weeks earlier. Think about someone like Landon Robinson. Right now, the conversation is largely centered around his background, his discipline, and the journey that got him here. But eventually the story has to shift from the narrative to the football. That's the next stage for him. Once practices begin stacking up, coaches aren't evaluating military discipline or draft day stories. They're evaluating production. They're evaluating effort. They're evaluating consistency. That's where Robinson has an opportunity to separate himself. The encouraging part for him is that he already seems to understand what his path looks like. Nothing is guaranteed. Every rep matters. Every meeting matters. Every practice matters. For a player entering the league as a 7th-round selection, that mentality is probably exactly what coaches want to see. The same can be said for Kobe Young. A lot of fans are already excited about his physical tools, but now comes the difficult part. Can he translate those tools into trust from the coaching staff? Because that's really what OTAs are about. Trust. Can coaches trust you to line up correctly? Can coaches trust you to know your assignment? Can coaches trust you to execute consistently? Can coaches trust you when opportunities suddenly increase? If Jamar Chase misses time during voluntary activities and T. Higgins continues to be limited in certain situations, there will be opportunities available. Those opportunities don't automatically belong to anyone. Players have to earn them. And if Kobe Young starts making plays during those extra reps, the conversation around him could get very loud very quickly. Then you look at Dante Myers, and his situation may be one of the most interesting on the entire roster. Why? Because he doesn't arrive with the draft status. He doesn't arrive with the same level of hype. He doesn't arrive with expectations attached to a particular round selection. Instead, he arrives with something different: momentum. A strong season in the CFL helped put him back on the radar. Now he gets the chance to prove he belongs at the next level. These are exactly the types of players fans love following during the offseason because every positive report feels meaningful. One great practice turns into a conversation. One impressive catch becomes a highlight. One strong week suddenly puts a player firmly on the radar. That climb from relative unknown to legitimate roster candidate can happen surprisingly fast during this part of the calendar. Meanwhile, the pressure surrounding Eric All Jr. feels very different. Nobody is really debating whether the talent is there. The biggest question remains whether he can put together an extended, healthy stretch. And honestly, that's why every positive update matters so much. Every practice completed, every drill participated in, every week without setbacks. Those things become victories for a player in his position. The early reports have been encouraging, but Bengals fans are looking for something bigger now. They want to see consistency. They want to see momentum build week after week. They want to reach training camp feeling confident that one of the most talked about young tight ends on the roster is finally ready to put injuries behind him. The battle behind the top names at tight end also deserves attention. Jack Andre and Josh Caddis may not be generating major headlines yet, but roster spots are won and lost during periods exactly like this. For Andre, the focus appears to be establishing where he fits within the overall structure of the team. For Caddis, it's much simpler. Make the team. That's the mission. And sometimes those under-the-radar competitions end up being some of the most compelling developments of the entire offseason because every day can change the outlook. One good week can dramatically improve a player's chances. One difficult week can create a completely different conversation. But if there's one player who may have the most to gain emotionally from these upcoming weeks, it might be Shamar Stewart. The reason is simple. A fresh start only becomes meaningful when it's followed by results. Stewart openly acknowledged that his first year wasn't easy. There were challenges. There were injuries. There were adjustments. There were moments where things simply didn't come together the way he wanted. Now he enters a new phase with an opportunity to show growth. And growth is exactly what everyone will be looking for. Not perfection. Growth, more confidence, more comfort, more decisiveness, more consistency. Those are the signs that coaches, teammates, and fans want to see as year 2 begins. At the same time, the presence of Cassius Howell creates a healthy level of urgency. Competition can be one of the best motivators in football. Nobody wants to lose snaps. Nobody wants to slide down the depth chart. Nobody wants to watch someone else take advantage of opportunities that could have been theirs. If Stewart responds the right way, that competition could bring out the very best version of his game. And that's exactly why this storyline feels so important heading into OTAs and eventually training camp. The biggest takeaway from all of this is that the Bengals are entering a fascinating stage of the offseason. Not because final decisions are being made right now, but because the foundation for those decisions is beginning to form. Every practice creates impressions. Every drill creates evaluations. Every rep creates opportunities. Some players will strengthen their position. Some players will create unexpected buzz. Some players will force themselves into conversations that weren't happening a few weeks ago. And by the time mandatory minicamp arrives, we may be talking about an entirely different group of names than we are today. So now I've got a question for every Bengals fan watching. Which one of these players do you believe will be the biggest winner of OTAs? Will it be Landon Robinson continuing his rise? Will Kobe Young take advantage of extra opportunities? Can Dante Myers carry his momentum into the NFL? Will Eric All Jr. finally put together a healthy stretch? Can Josh Cadis fight his way into the roster conversation? Or is Shamar Stewart about to remind everyone why the organization continues to believe in his potential? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I want to hear your prediction before the practices really get rolling. And if you enjoyed this update, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss any Bengals news, roster updates, OTA standouts, training camp battles, and breaking developments throughout the offseason. The next few weeks could completely reshape the conversation around this roster, and you won't want to miss a single update. Who day?